In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds are not just strange, they are alive with conflict. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. Last time we visited a world that moves through the stars. Today we descend into Slushie, a bruised, blood-red planet orbiting a dying red giant, smothered in thick rust-colored clouds and endless violet storms. This is a world where evolution chose reptiles over mammals and intelligence chose war. When explorers Steve and Sebel first approached Slushie, a sleek dark object slid across the horizon. Not a meteor, not natural, a satellite. Proof that someone or something was already down there. They landed deep in the jungle, far from the jagged cities, their suits shifting colors to blend with the alien foliage. The jungle was alive with translucent birds, glowing insect swarms, and slithering reptiles. But then something upright stepped from the shadows. A humanoid reptilian with iridescent scales and elongated eyes. Her name was Schnex of the Azist. In perfect English, she told them the horrifying truth. Slushie is bleeding to death in an ancient war between 5 intelligent reptilian species. 5 once ruled this world. Now only the ruthless Shurkin remain, hunting the others to extinction. The Azist, shapeshifters who can change form and absorb knowledge in seconds, are among the last survivors, and they are losing. Schnex had one desperate request. Take the last 20 eggs of her people and find them a new home. Before they could answer, killer drones swarmed in. Pulse fire ripped through the trees. In a frantic escape, Schnex handed them the precious container, then charged the enemy so they could reach their lander. They watched her fall under a storm of gunfire as they blasted into orbit, only to discover their mothership had been completely destroyed. Stranded, alone, and carrying the future of an entire species, they had one chance. Survive 48 hours on the surface until the wormhole reopened. They hit on remote volcanic islands in the far south. Desolate, storm-racked, no signs of civilization. But Slushie does not allow peace. A monstrous reptile longer than their lander emerged from the rocks, its neck frill crackling with electric fury. It spat jets of sizzling acid that melted stone. They fought for their lives, barely killing the beast as acid rain hammered down and winged predators circled overhead. Every hour became a nightmare of survival. Finally, the wormhole opened. They launched, only to be ambushed by a waiting Shurkin satellite. Its energy beam tore into their lander and followed them straight through the wormhole, exploding inside humanity's own space station on the other side. Now branded near failures by their commanders, Steve and Sebel stand with the last eggs of the Azist clutched tightly in their arms. One more mistake and they're finished. But failure is no longer an option, because Slushie is far more than a battlefield. It is a cauldron of 6 deadly reptilian species locked in total war. The Shurkins, green-scaled conquerors, brilliant tacticians with crystalline technology and geothermal superweapons. They dominate the jungle continent of Shurka and plan to rule everything. The Sarasians, gigantic serpentine brutes built for destruction. The Shasans, cunning desert snakes, masters of deception and strategy. The Mercians and Rugans, armored crocodilian swamp warriors, savage and relentless. And the Azist, the shapeshifters, those who are the faces of their enemies to survive. One Azist scientist has already run the simulations. In 100 years, the Shurkins win. Total victory. Total extinction for everyone else. Unless the last eggs now in human hands can be saved. Slushie is not just another strange planet. It is a world forged in fire and blood, where war has become the only language, and its fire may soon spill into the stars. What would you do if you carried the last hope of a dying species? Drop your thoughts below. If you want to know what happens next, the desperate infiltration of Shurka, the shapeshifter's final gamble, subscribe and hit the bell. The universe is far deadlier than we imagined. This has been Strangest Planets. See you on the next world.
In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds are not just strange. They are warnings written in rust and silence. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. After barely escaping the war-torn hell of Slushie with the last eggs of a dying reptilian species, explorers Steve and Sebel are hurled through the wormhole once more. This time, it spits them out in front of a planet the color of rusting blood oranges. A world wrapped in dense, choking dust storms that never seem to end. From orbit, it looks like a dead desert. But something is very wrong. Their scanners pick up the faint grids of collapsed cities, the outlines of ancient roads now swallowed by orange dunes. This planet once had civilization. Now it has only silence and storms. The onboard computer delivers a cold warning. Surface hostile, signs of single-cell organism dominance. They don't set foot on the surface. Instead, they send reconnaissance drones plunging into the orange haze. What the drones reveal is the stuff of nightmares. Collapsed buildings half buried in dust. Leaning towers like snapped bones. And strewn across the cracked streets, thousands upon thousands of bodies. Reptilian humanoid corpses, twisted in their final moments of flight, fight, or desperate escape. Their flesh is mottled with a fine orange fuzz that still pulses faintly, like living embers. The same growth covers the carcasses of every beast on the planet's skeletons half-clad in rotting muscle, all overtaken by the same creeping dust. It isn't just a plague, it's total planetary infection. The entire world has become one massive fungal organism, hyper-evolved, likely bioengineered, and completely out of control. The dominant life form is no longer the civilization that built those cities. It is the fungus. Everything else is dead. In orbit, the drones capture one final horror. The skeletal remains of a colossal arc ship, half-built and abandoned, still tethered to ruined orbital platforms. The people of this world tried to flee their own creation. They failed. The computer's final analysis is merciless. Uncontrolled spread. Planetary extinction. Remaining life form. Fungus only. They didn't stay long. The drones self-destructed on the way back to prevent any chance of contamination. Back at the space station, General Reese explodes with rage. A resource-rich planet covered in a self-replicating organism. And they brought back nothing? Not a single sample. Sebel stands her ground, her voice like steel. She tells him exactly what that organism did. It wiped out an entire intelligent species. And she warns him, try to bring any part of it near Earth, and she will go public with everything, the wormholes, the secret missions, the deaths. The room falls into dead silence. Reese is forced to back down. Planet Orange is declared off the record. Forgotten. But Sebel knows the truth. Some things cannot be forgotten. That rust-colored world is not just another dead planet. It is a warning carved across an entire civilization. Play God with biology at your peril, because nature or your own creation will finish the job. A single mistake, one uncontrolled experiment, and everything you built can be reduced to orange dust and silence. Slushie showed us the cost of endless war. Planet Orange shows us the cost of playing with life itself. And now, somewhere in the darkness between stars, Steve and Sebel still carry the fragile eggs of the last desist, searching for a safe world while wondering how many more warnings the universe will send before we finally listen. What would you do if you discovered a planet that had killed itself with its own science? Drop your thoughts below. If you want to know where Steve and Sebel go next, and whether the Azist eggs will ever find a home, subscribe and hit the bell. Imagine breaking through the fabric of space itself, only to wake up inside a cage. Not a prison, not a lab, a living exhibit. This is the story of a world so advanced that its own home planet has become a museum. A civilization that no longer speaks with voices, because thoughts are all they need. They travel the universe not to conquer, but to collect, to study, to observe. And what they told our explorers about humanity may be the most terrifying warning we have ever received. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. This is Agrad. The moment the ship pierced the wormhole, reality itself seemed to reject them. Lights died, engines silenced. Then came the beam, pure, clinical, and absolute. When Captain Steve and Dr. Sebel regained consciousness, they weren't floating in space anymore. They were standing on display. A vast, gleaming hall stretched endlessly in every direction, white architecture so perfect it hurt to look at. Towering beings glided silently through the corridors. Their skin, translucent silver, refracting light like living crystal. Their movements, graceful, effortless, almost weightless. Crowds gathered. They pointed with long, elegant fingers. They leaned in. They studied every detail of the human suits, every twitch of muscle, every expression of fear and confusion. Steve whispered it first. "We're in a zoo." For 40 agonizing hours, they endured it. No food, no water, only endless, detached observation. Any attempt to communicate, gestures, writing, desperate miming, was met with tilted heads and silent glances. Until Steve realized the truth. They never speak, not once. They just look at each other and understand. They were telepathic, completely, perfectly, and to them, any species still bound by spoken words was primitive. Sybil reached out, not with her voice, but with her mind. "We are not animals. We are explorers." The effect was instantaneous. One alien froze, then another. A silent wave spread through the crowd like electricity. Finally, one stepped forward. Its eyes glowed with faint inner light, and a voice, soft, melodic, impossibly clear, spoke directly inside Sybil's head. "You speak." Forgiveness followed, an apology of sorts. "To us, only those who think without words are advanced. Others are animals. We did not mean offense." Then came the flood, entire galaxies unfolding in her mind, civilizations rising like tides and crashing like waves, an ocean of memory older than our sun. These beings had transcended language itself. They had transcended biology in ways we can barely comprehend. Their technology wasn't machines, it was thought made real. Their society had evolved so far that conflict, hunger, and even spoken debate had become relics of the past. Agrad is no longer a living homeworld in the traditional sense. It is a museum. The entire planet has been transformed into a vast archive of their own history and the histories of countless others. Their cities are galleries. Their oceans are data reservoirs. Their skies shimmer with preserved moments from extinct civilizations. They are so advanced that they no longer need to build or expand on their homeworld. Instead, they travel the universe in silent, thought-driven vessels, collecting samples, studying alien life, cataloging the rise and fall of species across the cosmos. Biology, physics, time itself, they bend them with the ease we flip a switch. Telepathy allows perfect coordination across light years. Their understanding of the universe is so complete that what we call miracles are simply Tuesday afternoon experiments for them. But the most profound revelation came in that final telepathic exchange. The aliens shared a universal truth they had observed across countless worlds. Every species that becomes technologically advanced without first developing mature morality eventually gets reset. They call it the Great Reset. Not destruction out of malice. Not conquest. A natural correction. A cosmic mechanism. Civilizations that race ahead in power while lagging in wisdom, empathy, and ethical foundation inevitably collapse under the weight of their own unchecked ambition. According to them, Earth has already suffered 7 such resets. 7 times humanity, or whatever came before us, climbed too high, too fast, without the moral maturity to sustain it. 7 times the slate was wiped clean. And now, they believe we are ripe for the 8th. As the explorers were gently escorted back to their repaired ship, the leading alien left one final thought, carved into Sybil's soul like a warning etched in stone. "Do not return. We will contact your world in 200 years. If you have learned by then, we will listen. Develop a strong moral foundation, or the reset is imminent." General Reese was furious. He labeled the planet hostile. Agrad became a symbol of everything Earth needed to surpass. But Steve and Sybil knew the truth. These beings weren't hostile. They were simply beyond us. They don't see us as equals. Not yet. They see potential wrapped in profound immaturity. The question hangs heavy in the air. Are we ready, or will the 8th Great Reset claim us too? Agrad stands as both a beacon of what a species can become and a mirror reflecting what we still lack. In the search for the strangest planets, we didn't just find alien life. We found a warning written across the stars. Develop wisdom before power, or nature or something greater will reset the board. What do you think humanity needs to do before they return? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, keep looking up.
Imagine a planet so alive it refuses to stay the same for even one night. A world where the ground shifts beneath your feet like a breathing beast. Where rain burns through spacesuits, beauty hides deadly acid, and entire landscapes are sculpted and destroyed in hours. This is Dallow, one of the strangest planets ever discovered in the known universe. A rogue exoplanet that looks like nature on steroids, or a warning from the cosmos itself. From orbit, Dallow appears deceptively beautiful, an emerald gem veiled in swirling golden clouds rich with exotic trace gases, but beneath that hazy shroud lies a nightmare of impossible geology. As the explorers broke through the thick atmosphere, the surface revealed itself in dazzling, nightmarish glory. Towering rock outcrops jutted upward like colossal coral reefs from some ancient, feverish ocean, jagged spires stretching for kilometers, formed by relentless volcanic and tectonic fury. Between them flowed rivers of molten stone, feeding into one colossal, supermassive ocean that sat like a dark, pulsating heart at the planet's center. Its waters were thick, murky, and almost oil-like, heavy with dissolved minerals and unknown compounds. The ground itself was restless. Strange alien flora erupted before their eyes, shoots piercing the soil in seconds, blooming into iridescent flowers that release clouds of nutrient-rich spores, only to wither and collapse back into fertile mulch within a minute. Entire life cycles played out in fast-forward evolution, accelerated by the planet's hyperactive chemistry and shifting gases. Some plant spores get blown up into the atmosphere and germinate there. They get moisture and nutrients from the clouds. The favorable condition promotes growth. Then these happens. It rains flowers. Flocks of ethereal bird-like creatures wheeled through the sulphurous skies, their glass-like wings refracting the alien light. Everything here seemed built for flight, as if the ground could never be trusted. Then the volcanoes awakened. Half a dozen erupted in eerie unison, fountains of molten fire painting the clouds blood red. Suddenly the ground rumbled. A crack split the earth with a scream that sounded like the planet itself crying out in rage. The fissure raced across the surface faster than anyone could run. Dust, fire, and debris exploded upward as the chasm widened into a yawning abyss. When the chaos finally settled, the landing craft lay crushed at the bottom of the new gorge, half buried in rock and mud. Moments later, the dark ocean tide surged in, swallowing the wreckage beneath churning black waves. The explorers were now stranded. Communications were dead in the dense, hostile atmosphere. Cut off from their orbiting ship, they faced a living death trap. The first warning from the sky came as rain. At first, it seemed almost normal droplets falling from the golden clouds. But when those drops hit the rocks, they hissed and sizzled, sending up plumes of white, corrosive smoke. This was no ordinary rain. It was hyperacidic sheets of burning liquid laced with exotic compounds far stronger than anything found on Earth. They barely reached the shelter of a dark cave carved into a cliff face before the downpour became a relentless torrent. Inside the cave, a strange silence fell. But Dallow had one more deadly wonder waiting. In the heart of the cavern glowed a pool of impossible beauty, shimmering in emerald, crimson, and liquid gold, pulsing as if alive. Rippling hues danced across the walls like melted gemstones. For a moment, it looked like paradise, until the scanners revealed the terrifying truth. It was pure acid, strong enough to eat through even the most reinforced suits in seconds. Even beauty on Dallow was lethal. When they emerged at what should have been dawn, the planet had betrayed them once again. Overnight, the landmass had grown and shifted like a living organism. Mountains had risen where none existed before. Valleys had collapsed. What had been a cave entrance at shoulder height now sat high atop a freshly raised hill. Dallow doesn't sleep, it evolves. Desperate for a clearer signal, they climb the unstable new summit. Against all odds, a faint transmission broke through. A rescue lander was dispatched from orbit. But as the disc-shaped craft touched down on the shoreline, the murky ocean began to rise, swelling as if pulled upward by some invisible planetary force. Water surged forward, swallowing the beach and climbing rapidly toward the lander. The explorers raced down the shifting slope, rocks sliding beneath their boots as the sea roared higher behind them. They reached the craft just in time, lifting off moments before the dark waves swallowed the shoreline whole. Back aboard the space station, the debriefing revealed a harsh reality. The vast, mineral-rich ocean and exotic resources of Dallow held unimaginable potential. Yet the mission had ended in failure, no samples, no meaningful data, and a valuable lander lost. The planet had proven itself unstable, unpredictable, and relentlessly hostile. Terrain that changed overnight, acid rain that corroded everything it touched, a world that seemed determined to reject any intruder. Dallow was not just a planet, it was a warning, and that warning went unheard.
Imagine emerging from a wormhole into orbit around a planet so enormous it defies belief. 10 times the size of Earth, with an atmosphere so rich in oxygen that everything living on its surface grows to monstrous proportions. This is planet Marcato, the noisiest world in the known universe. The moment their lander pierced the thick green and gold atmosphere, Steve and Sebel realized the true scale of this behemoth. What they had mistaken for mountains were actually trees. Colossal skyscraper like giants that punched straight through the clouds, their crowns so high they wore caps of ice. The lander settled on a single branch wide enough to hold an entire city block. The instant the hatch opened, the noise assaulted them like a physical blow. A deafening roar of screeches, whistles, growls, bellows, and cackles collided in a chaotic symphony that rattled their bones and shook their suits. It sounded less like a forest and more like a frenzied marketplace during rush hour. Sebel, half smiling through the pain, named it on the spot, Planet Marcato, the noisy planet. As they clipped themselves to the massive branch and began their descent, every level revealed new horrors. Other trees grew directly out of the bark like parasites feeding on the giants. Strange creatures shrieked at them from hollow nests, their bodies covered in feathers, scales, or deadly quills. When one lunged, Steve was forced to fire his pulse sidearm, sending the beast tumbling silently into the abyss below. Hours passed. The light slowly faded until the world beneath them became a black, endless void. Their headlamps cut through the darkness, revealing roots as wide as rivers burrowing into soil that had never seen sunlight. That was when the true nightmare began. A worm the size of a subway train slithered into view, peacefully gnawing on fallen leaves. Suddenly, the roots around it came alive. They weren't roots at all, they were traps. They lashed out like striking serpents, coiling around the massive worm and slamming it violently against the trunk. Needle-like points extended and pierced its flesh with a sickening hiss. Within moments, the worm shriveled into a dry, leathery husk. The roots casually discarded the empty skin and retracted. Before Steve and Sebel could react, the ground itself shifted. Roots exploded upward, wrapping around their legs, arms, and torsos, slamming them hard against the tree trunk. Sebel screamed as the coils tightened around her chest, squeezing until she could barely breathe. Steve strained desperately for his weapon, his voice tight with fear. "Don't move. They'll drain us." The roots flexed, their glistening needle points angling straight toward their helmets. The entire forest seemed to roar louder, as if the planet itself was laughing at their helplessness. And then the needles struck forward. The needles struck and stopped, their razor-sharp points pressed hard against the nano-suits, scratching furiously but unable to pierce the microscopic scales. The roots pulsed once, confused, then retreated back into the bark with an angry hiss. Sebel collapsed to her knees, gasping for air. "I thought that was it." Steve's laugh was shaky. "If this suit wasn't fireproof, acid-proof and everything else proof we'd already be mulch. Determined to complete their mission, they hacked their way through the living forest floor, a twitching mat of roots and tendrils that felt more like muscle than soil. After hours of exhausting work surrounded by the planet's endless deafening chatter, Steve finally pulled free a small bag of dark, tangled earth. But as they began the long climb back up the colossal tree, a glossy serpent-like vine darted across their path. It lashed out, coiled around Steve's wrist, and snatched the bag of soil. Before they could stop it, the vine split the bag open, plunged tiny rootlets inside, and drained every nutrient in seconds. It then casually tossed the empty plastic aside and disappeared into the shadows. Sebel stared in disbelief. Did it just farm our soil sample? Steve's voice was flat. This planet grows its own thieves. Exhausted, they fought through more aggressive vines and roots until they secured a second sample. Only then did they stagger back to the safety of their lander. Before sealing the hatch, Sebel paused beside the silver incubator, humming quietly in the cargo hold. Inside were the 20 Azist eggs entrusted to them by Schnecks before her death. "We can't keep moving them from world to world," she said softly. "They need stability." After a long moment, they made a difficult decision. They placed the incubator at the base of a sheltered root cluster, where the vines twitched curiously around it. Sebel whispered, as if speaking directly to Schnecks, "We'll come back for them, I promise." Only then did they lift off, leaving 20 fragile lives behind on the chaotic, roaring world of Marcato. When they finally docked at the station, relief was short-lived. Two stern investigators were waiting. They pulled Sebel aside for a cold, clipped conversation. "Sebel Tesfaye, we need a word." They made it perfectly clear. The agency had not forgotten her earlier threats to go public. From now on, all her communications would be permanently monitored. Sebel's jaw tightened as they treated her like a traitor. When she finally stepped back into the corridor, Steve asked if everything was okay. "Perfect," she replied, forcing a smile. But her mind was far away, on the incubator she had left hidden among the roots of Marcato. 20 fragile lives, pulsing gently in the darkness, waiting to hatch. And she prayed the agency would never find out.
In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds don't just challenge us, they tempt us to never leave. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. After the silent horror of Planet Orange and the living nightmare of Marcato, the wormhole throws Steve and Sebel toward a new world pulsing under a dying star. Its massive moon turns the sky into shifting curtains of violet, green, and psychedelic light. Radiation flashes every few seconds like a cosmic strobe. From orbit, it looks like paradise. Steve calls it Eden. Sebel calls it dangerous. They land near glowing caves where movement catches their eyes. Out come the Pfarda, small, colorful, fur-covered humanoids with oversized ears and shimmering coats that sparkle in the strobing light. They are playful space monkeys, leaping and chattering, living in noisy, joyful chaos. The air itself is thick with natural narcotics. Every plant, every fruit ferments almost instantly. The very atmosphere buzzes with intoxicants. While Sebel gathers samples, Steve ventures into the caves. What he finds is a non-stop festival of drumming, dancing, and wild abandon. The Pfarda welcome him with glowing fruits and intoxicating leaves. Before long, Steve is naked, covered in paint, dancing wildly with the creatures, laughing like a madman. Sebel finds him completely lost to the planet's influence. The drugs have connected him to their world. He sees only paradise. No war, no rules, no aging beyond 19 years. A short life lived at full speed and endless joy. Steve refuses to leave. He blocks the path to the lander, determined to protect this world from humanity's corruption. Sebel makes an impossible choice. She raises her rifle and shoots him in the leg. As he collapses, she drags her drugged partner back to the lander, while the colorful space monkeys watch curiously from a distance, still swaying to rhythms only they can hear. Back at the station, General Reese is furious. A missed first contact. no meaningful samples. And one explorer shooting another. He warns them both, one more failure, and they're finished. Tensions between Steve and Sebel have now shattered. Steve is still haunted by the paradise he left behind. Sebel is cold, exhausted, and done. She requests a new partner. This was their last mission together. Farda remains out there, a glowing, strobing world of endless party and short lives. A planet so perfect it nearly claimed one of our own. Steve and Sebel are still searching, and the universe keeps throwing stranger and stranger worlds at them. What would you do if you found a planet that made you never want to leave? Would you stay, or would you drag your partner home by force? Drop your thoughts below. If you want to know where their journey leads next, subscribe and hit the bell. More strange worlds are waiting. This has been Strangest Planets. See you on the next world.